Infinity Rescuers with the title Suggestions for Revising SOLAS and SAS to Solve the Problem of Maritime Refugees. Please welcome.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Team IR, which means Infinity Rescuers. I'm honored to address our team presentation today, and our topic is about suggestions for revising SOLAS and SAR to solve the problem of maritime refugees. With the maritime refugee issue has been the most sensitive issue internationally and recently, the IMO, which is responsible for maritime affairs, also needs to address the issue about maritime refugees. This presentation will be conducted in order of problem analysis, solutions, and results. Let's first look at the status and the problem issue of maritime refugees and see what's wrong with them and how IMO can address them. Sea refugees are also called boat people because they attempt to escape from their home country by boat. And these attempts to escape by sea route is causing a lot of problems because these migrant travel are not properly manned or equipped or licensed for carrying passengers on international voyages. So there is a high probability of death. I'll show you two events to illustrate the status problem of maritime refugees. First, Proactiva Open Arms is a Spanish NGO which operates the search and rescue operations at sea. In August 2019, however, EU nations refused to allow Open Arms rescue ship carrying more than 160 refugees. The second instance is about the Danish merchant ship which rescued more than 100 refugees, and it was denied entry to Italy and stayed at sea for several days. In both cases, regardless of whether it is NGOs or merchant ships of other nationalities who has rescued some people who need rescue, some countries in Mediterranean Europe could selectively accept or reject those who deserve to be rescued, depending on political issues. Another problem here is that the guidelines on treatments of the persons rescued at sea has burdens responsibilities to shipmasters with regard to humanitarian obligations. In this context, the FAL clause has instructed shipmasters to bear all the costs necessary to deal with the rescued. This situation can cause financial damage to merchant ships and their shipmasters. So IMO is focusing on resolving this situation. In fact, it is one of the strategic directions that IMO should address. And it is also included in Trends and Development and Challenges agenda that IMO and other maritime organizations faced during 2018 to 2023 period, which is conducted by MSC. The key part of the problem here is that there is no guarantee of landing in post-rescue situations. As I showed earlier, as the maritime refugee issue has been the sensitive issue recently, most of them could be refused to allow landing after the rescue, and they are just moved to another boat by rescue. And this situation attributes maritime refugees to lose their lives, and shipmasters taking all the disadvantages that emerges due to this situation, and according to the FAL clause. Maritime refugees have the right to be rescued by various conventions. Many countries, however, they are not taking appropriate measures to rescue the maritime refugees by exploiting the blind spot of the provision. If if you look at the background of this situation, you'll find that it is because of the flexible interpretation of the treaty. Many countries has taken advantage of ambiguity of wording set out in these treaties, and they are not conducting their duty. Therefore, in order to solve this problem of neglect of maritime refugees, which disturbs the maritime order, countries should be urged to fulfill their obligations responsibly by revising the provision. The next presenter will specify the details of the revising provision.
And now let's move on to the following stage of the presentation. We propose amendment to SOLAS and SAR to resolve the aforementioned problems. First of all, we are going to revise SOLAS Chapter 5, Regulation 33. It mentioned the master's duty when master find a person in distress at sea. Before pointing out the problem of the SOLAS, we would like to tell you about a maritime law. According to maritime common law and maritime international law, likewise, UNCOLS and SAR state that the master of the ship must rescue anyone who is in danger at sea. And also, this convention includes the features of the rescuers. However, SOLAS does not have some phrases about the features of the rescued person, although SOLAS defines the master's duty to undertake a substantial rescue. Therefore, we suggest adding these phrases regardless of one's nationality, status of such a person, gender, race, or religion in SOLAS Chapter 5, Regulation 33. From this revision, we can predict the following consequences. Before amendment, it has not a specific explanation for the rescued targets, so there is no firm guarantee for a special situation such as maritime refugees. And also, it is possible to overlook the importance of special situation even though it is aware. However, if we add some phrases as SOLAS could emphasize that any situation should be treated non-discriminatory. And second, Team Infinity Rescuers suggest amending Annex of SAR. Annex Chapter 1 defines the term of the definition of SAR Convention, and what we focus on is rescue. According to SAR, rescue is not only about saving, but also about the delivering rescued person to a place of safety. However, a place of safety is so vague and unclear that the party states can interpret the law arbitrarily. Therefore, we suggest amending these phrases to a state which provide a place of safety. And let's move on to the next page. Chapter 3 of SAR deal with the cooperation between party states in search and rescue activities. In particular, 3.1.9 is an important part of ensuring the safety of the rescuers with transport to a place of safety. We earlier modify in rescue, Annex of SAR 1.3.2. In the same context, we would like to revise a state which provides a place of safety. And let me tell you about the predictable consequences. Due to the ambiguity of the term, the party states have avoided allowing the rescuers into safe land. And also, since there was no mention about state, the party states have taken temporary measures such as moving the rescuers from the original ship to another ship. And the mortality rate of the marine refugees has gradually increased. However, if we mention about states at SAR, adequate procedure can be taken after landing regardless of nationality or status. And also, death rate of refugees can be reduced. So, To sum up, as you see, this green arrow is the process of rescue and the role of the IMO from number 2 to number 4, but it's empty because there's a loopholes in the relevant convention, likewise SOLAS and SAR. However, after amendment, IMO could fill in this process vacuum by revising SOLAS and SAR to ensure rescue and disembarkation respectively. And also, IMO can achieve safety mission. And now, next presenter will cover details of the expected results.
Lastly, I will present the expected results. The amendments to SOLAS and SAR have two implications. First, by amending SOLAS, it emphasizes the essential duties and universal application of rescue activities by firmly stating that all people who are in a distress situation have the right to be rescued. Second, the revision of the SAR will insert a clause that specifies the disembarkation to land in order to deliver them to a place of safety for the rescued people. This gives everyone the opportunity to be properly treated after rescue. These amendments will not only create opportunities for asylum seekers to apply, but will also help solve the problem of maritime refugee casualties, which has been highest death rate route taken by refugees. It will prevent ships from drifting and causing huge financial losses because of refugee shutdown. Rapid rescue and disembarkation after rescue will also help facilitate maritime transportation. Looking at IMO's mission, IMO has the most direct set of responsibilities. It oversees the development of international maritime law with emphasis on safety aspects, providing technical advice and assistance to states to ensure that they respect their obligations. As such, IMO is not only responsible for the overall technical and safety role of the maritime refugee issue, but is also a major refugee problem solver along with United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and International Organization for Migration. Therefore, it can play a key role in the problem. As a first step, IMO will make amendments to SOLAS and SAR to guarantee search and rescue disembark to safe state for all people. If the problem of unfairness in the post-rescue process for maritime refugees is mitigated, this process can move on to the next step. UNHCR and IOM will use these amendments as the legal basis for burden sharing to encourage substantive implementation of refugee and migration issues. Finally, local agencies will seek institutional and procedural changes of the maritime refugee issue. As the first player in this process, IMO is playing a big role. Amendments to SOLAS and SAR can contribute to the global compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration. Based on documents from Maritime Safety Committee and Facilitation Committee, what IMO can do for this global compact is to revise these mentioned conventions. By specifically changing the ambiguous expressions, we can prevent discriminatory treatment of refugees and abuse of system. SOLAS and SAR amendments are also necessary to achieve SDGs. These amendments can contribute to the goal number 10, reduced inequalities. In order to prepare for the continued influx of refugees, managing the movement of refugees has been a part of a migration policy. Through the implementation of the planned and well-managed migration policy, it can help achieve the detailed goal of number 10.7 to promote orderly, safe, regular, and responsible migration and movement of people. Everyone has the right to be rescued. By amending these conventions, IMO will be able to strengthen its mission. Human life should be considered as a top priority. This will be another single step towards defending basic human rights. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Infinity Rescuers. I will take questions from participating teams or judge, whoever. Oceans 3.
Thank you. Chung-Yun Kim from Oceans 3, and thank you for the interesting presentation. We think that the issue with refugees is a very sensitive issue due to many political reasons. And regarding the part where you told us that the state will have to receive refugees, would your solution not be intervening with state sovereignty and their autonomy? For instance, if the states do not want to receive refugees for political or any social or economic reasons. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your precious questions for our presentations. Our team is suggesting that there are numerous international laws that are involved in the maritime domain. And since the problem situation we have presented is that countries have found blind spots to avoid violating these laws, it can be rebutted that countries cannot easily ignore international laws related to the concerns. And also, even if there is immediate opposition from countries, it is most necessary to form a lame duck to discuss the international community's essential task of sharing responsibility for refugees. In particular, since everyone knows that joint response of countries is more essential than other issues, the international community can expect cooperation from the countries as it will put more pressure on them to complete ignoring international law and simply to put priority on domestic law. Thank you.
Thank you. As a reminder, when you ask questions, please speak slowly. And if you are not sure, just ask. Clarify the question and then answer to that. So next question. Vitamin C.
Thank you for your speech, and thank you for shedding light on a very important issue at sea. However, our concern is that when you make it an obligation to accept refugees, we believe that it might make a problem because refugees might exploit your proposal, so furthering the burden of each country. So do you have any measures that can help these countries when they face too much burden?
Can you speak louder, please?
Okay, sorry. My concern is that when you make it an obligation to accept refugees, it might further the burden of each country. So do you have any measures to help those problems?
Thank you for your great question, and we strongly believe that this amendment have some effectiveness from this situation because recently Europe has reached an agreement on the allocate of refugees and has discussed the sharing of the responsibility. This system introduced automatic distribution of refugees to Italy and Malta within Europe Union. So this quota system is held for that you're suggesting issue. Thank you.
Do you have any more questions?
Thank you for your presentation. We'd like to suggest two issues on your presentation. First, I think this issue can be touched ISPS code because of security issue. Most of those refugees are not identified or counted as the number of the refugees are really difficult, and this might cause not only for the ship security but also port security, because they have to deliver to safe place. So that's my first question. And second question is that might cause tremendous cost that can be charged to not only for ship owners but also be ship crews, like distributing food or waters, that kind of thing. So would you tell me about that, your opinion?
Thank you for your question, Team Mercy. And first, thank you for your constructive question or like advice. Yeah, and second, in protection and indemnity insurance, P&I insurance, regarding stowaways and asylum seekers, there are some clause is here, but as far as I know, it is really rare to get the compensation because of stowaways or asylum seekers or refugees, because the process of approving a case and receiving money is very complicated. So therefore, we suggest these revisions, because from this revision, ship owners and even crews don't have to pay more costs because of drifting because of they are taking refugees. Thank you.
I think you answered just one question, but that's enough. So I will go to the next question. Team Neo, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your amazing presentation. And I truly agree with your proposal. Of course, taking care of refugees and helping them to be safe, not in the middle of the sea, but underground, even though they are refugees. Obviously, it is ethically right. But to list on the IMO regulations, we must get agreement from other countries. And apparently, IMO is the summit of diplomacy, right? Then we have to show what advantages, realistic advantages that other countries can get when they follow your proposal. So I wonder that, is there any economic or political advantages when maritime refugees problem are solved?
Thank you for your pointing out some issue of our presentation. As I mentioned before, there's a quarter system in European Union, like distribution of refugees. So we believe that there's no some economic or political advantage, but there's our structure of the distribution of refugees, so that problem is not very serious, we think. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. We will take just one more. Echo, please.
Thank you for your presentation. I would like to sincerely compliment you on finding a loophole within the mandatory law to finding the loophole of the mandatory law to pick up the people at distress at sea. And you have mentioned that the ships must deliver the rescued refugees to a state of safety, which is a guarantee of disembarkation. But I would just like to ask you, how would you guarantee if the ports will actually let them in, as you have mentioned in your presentation that one Danish ship was actually was stuck at sea, for a few days, not able to let the refugees in the ports. And once the state of safety becomes allows refugees to come in, how will you guarantee that it does not become a beacon of safe haven for all refugees at sea, and maybe perhaps congestion at that one certain area will occur? Thank you.
Please be short. Yeah.
The key cause of the problem, of course, was left as an expedient way to move from ship to ship without being disembarked on land. But essentially, this was possible because the nation had a whole to evade responsibility. Therefore, we chose state as a way to specify the national responsibility, and this will prevent them from being evasive. In particular, applicants who apply for protection under the International Refugee Act can apply for refugees recognition procedure in a country if they enter the sovereignty of a country. So they choose to use. So we choose to use the term state to emphasize this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all. So, well done, and you can return to your seat.